is host of the Dunc'd On Pod, Dan Feldman, with Cattles Ramie here at Sactown Sports on this Monday. Dan, thank you for the time. It is much appreciated, my friend. Before we get to the NBA Finals, let's get to this Kyrie LeBron report. Your initial reaction to Kyrie reaching out to James about playing together in Dallas?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to try, right? It doesn't seem like the Lakers are so interested in adding Kyrie. Figuring out the cap of that is a little tougher. Hey, Kyrie wants to play on the best team possible. The Mavericks would be better if they had LeBron. So why not see if LeBron is interested? I doubt it's going to work, but why not try?
I had a conspiracy theory that I thought was brilliant, and then my co-host went, yeah, everybody had that theory. Rami are not that smart, which was that we've seen the reports that the Lakers aren't interested in Kyrie, as you just alluded to. Maybe this is LeBron's way of saying to the Lakers, hey, if I can't play with Kyrie in Los Angeles, maybe I'll go play with him in Dallas and force your hand to let me go do that. Do you think that could be a possibility?
Could be. You can combine that with with LeBron. I mean, himself basically saying he's considering retirement. Right? That gives him a lot of leverage in trade talks. The Mavericks don't have many assets. You know, they traded a first rounder, some of their good players to get Kyrie Irving, so they're short on assets. But if you're the Lakers and your choices are, hey, you can get back Josh Green and Jaden Hardy, and the Mavericks do have the number 10 pick this year, and they can trade a future first-round pick and maybe a few swaps. It's not that appealing, but if your choices are that, or LeBron says he's going to retire, then it becomes a tough choice. So, sure, that's possible. I'm just not so sold that LeBron is all in on it's got to be Kyrie Irving. I think LeBron James wants to win. He doesn't have a lot of time left to do that. You look at his age, the time is now, if it hasn't passed already. And so he wants the Lakers to make moves to go in now. And, hey, Kyrie's a good player right now and could help, and he has experience winning with Kyrie. I'm sure that would appeal to him. But I've never viewed it as LeBron saying, I need to play with this guy. He just wants to win. If the Lakers can come up with an alternative plan to add help to the roster, I doubt LeBron would have a problem with that.
Dan Feldman with us. Dan, just to really drive this home, when you're looking at all these reports coming out of LA, it certainly sounds like the Lakers are thinking, let's run this thing back. Rui Hachimura, some of the pieces that they got at the deadline. Let's run this thing back with LeBron and AD. And as you mentioned, the retirement thing after they lost to the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Now maybe this. Do you think LA and Rob Pelinka eventually succumb to some of this LeBron passive-aggressive pressure and make a bigger move than what might be anticipated right now?
I hope so. They should. LeBron is right in this. They should be trying to win right now. They shouldn't be hedging their bets on, we want to have, somebody who's still in their 20s who's going to be pretty good in 5-6 years. Who cares about 5 to 6 years? You have a chance to win a title right now. I think they should have gone more in aggressively this year. I think they should go in aggressively next year. You got to find the right move. I don't know exactly what trades, who's available for what. But LeBron is right. I think the Lakers should listen. They've resisted so far, and you kind of got the thought of them thinking, well, maybe last year wasn't the year, but LeBron's still going to be good next year. We could do it next year, and that's possible. But the bigger sense you get is they're trying to take a long-term vision. I just don't think that makes sense when your best player is 38 years old.
Let's get into these NBA Finals. How much of a chance were you giving Miami before the series started, and how much of a chance do you give them now after snatching one in Denver?
I gave him a puncher's chance going in. It's probably pretty similar right now. The Nuggets have been the better team than the Heat basically all season. They were the better team the regular season. They were probably the better team in the playoffs, so the Heat definitely raised their level of play in the playoffs. And combined in these two games, I guess you'd probably say the Nuggets have been the better team between these two games. And so, yeah, sure, Miami got one in Denver. That matters. The Heat are a competitive team. They're a well-coached team. They've got veterans who've been there. They're cohesive. They got all the things you want for a team looking to pull an upset. But I also think, this would probably be an upset still if Miami wins.
Dan Feldman, host of Dunc'd On Prime, is with us here on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Dan, speaking of Miami, does it really matter who they play right now if they keep making shots the way they've made shots in the Eastern Conference Finals and in last night's game?
When you say who they play, do you mean their own rotation or who their opponent is?
Who their opponent is. Doesn't matter if they're making shots like they made against the Celtics and like they made last night.
They won by 3 last night. And right. So I'm going to answer yes. They barely won because the Nuggets are a hell of an offensive team too. I mean, the Nuggets with Jokic is maybe the best passer we've ever seen. He's up there, phenomenal individual scorer, just drives really efficient offense. And then Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., super talented. I love what Aaron Gordon does as a cutter, his energy. Contavious Caldwell-Pope can make stops. Just they're a high-level offensive team in a way that basically nobody else in the NBA is. So if anybody can keep up with even the hot shooting Heat, it's Denver.
Was that Michael Malone hinted at and didn't even hint? He said after the game their energy wasn't good enough. Their compete level wasn't good enough. Was that more about Miami stepping up or what Denver wasn't doing to try and stop them or slow them down?
Probably a little bit of both. I think I'm giving the Heat more credit on that. The Heat play really hard. They play tough. They play with the physicality in a way that's not easy to match, even if you're trying really hard to. I don't think this was the most focused game that I've seen from the Nuggets, but I'm leaning toward giving Miami more credit for how that went.
Dan, we saw a lot last night of this make Jokic a scorer narrative. What do you make of it?
I think it's real, and I think I don't know if you guys have played the Eric Spoelstra soundbite when Ramona Shelburne of ESPN asked him about. He's like, "Oh, that's for people who don't really understand the game," and I think he was protesting a little bit too much, and I also think he was somewhat responding to something that wasn't quite what she was asking, or at least isn't quite what the discussion is. Is it easy to prevent Jokic from being a passer? No, not at all. Even when that's your game plan, it's hard to execute. But I think what's real is trying to make that your game plan, doing your best to make it so it's harder for him to pass and saying, if he's going to score to beat us, that's what we'd rather live with. I think Denver's offense probably isn't quite as strong when it's too much Jokic scoring. And I think there are things the Heat can do to make it shift that way. Now, Jokic is so good. The next game, the Heat might do all those same things. And the next game, Jokic might still pick them apart as a passer. That's not something, that's kind of what I think Spoelstra was saying, was we can't stop him from passing. But I do think they can tilt their defense in that direction. I think they're trying to.
That was going to be my next question. Is the philosophy now the rest of the series, make Jamal Murray and the rest of the Denver Nuggets beat you and don't let Jokic do it all?
To a degree, but I think one of the underrated things the Heat do is they vary their defense. One of the big ways they do that gets a lot of attention is playing zone. And I think the reaction, this is just one example of how they do it, but the reaction after game one was, hey, the Heat zone was pretty effective, but the Nuggets got a lot of good shots, so you can't really bet on that working again just because it happened to work in game one. The Nuggets probably just missed makeable shots. What the Heat do defensively is they throw so many different things at you, you're uncomfortable. Even if it kind of looks like a shot that's a good shot, just based on who's shooting it and the distance from the basket and how open they are, you generally would classify as a good shot. They're coming off rhythm. They're coming at angles players aren't used to. It just throws you off just a little bit. So, yes, that makes sense as an overall theory. Hey, try and make Jokic more of a scorer than a passer the best you can. But also the Heat are going to come at different angles. There are going to be times when they're going to be daring Jokic to pass, and he's been so focused on being the scorer because the Heat have taken the other thing away. It's going to be a challenge to adjust and readjust and readjust.
Dan, great stuff, man. Always appreciate your time. Let's do this again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. There goes Dan Feldman, host of the Dunc'd On Prime Pod. He, of course, was on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. So Dan does believe in the make Jokic a scorer narrative. And we'll see. We'll see how Jokic and how the Nuggets will respond on Wednesday when they're in Miami. And if Michael Malone cooks something up. Because, look, Spoelstra's the best coach in the NBA. And we'll see what Malone has up his sleeve because Malone's been really good this postseason too. Thought he should have taken a timeout last night, but overall he's been really, really good.
And like you said, like we both said, you can see both sides of that decision. Like that wasn't an open and shut case of he should have called the timeout or he should not have called the timeout. There's a case to be made for both.